Welcome to another episode of Between Two Dots, brought to you by Intention Media Corp. This week, we had the distinct pleasure of having Lisa Davis join us as a guest. I've never met Lisa before this call, and our chat blew me away. Lisa is an innovator and entrepreneur with a background in commercial real estate and venture capital. Concerned with the direction of public education, she launched two unique public charter schools in Calgary and Edmonton, focused on ensuring students have a robust STEM education that prepares them for opportunities in the future. Both programs offer leading-edge programming not available elsewhere in Canada. She's served over 2,200 students from grades 7 to 12, with more than 6,000 students on a wait list. The programs demonstrate the desire and aspirations of Alberta's future innovators. I am not kidding where I was blown away and pleasantly surprised with this conversation. To hear someone's drive and the ability to take something from an idea and actually execute it to something that's adding so much value was truly refreshing. So I hope you enjoy this episode and let us know what you think. Welcome, Lisa. Lisa, it's so good to meet you. We were just saying that it's such an opportunity sometimes when someone can't come to this show. And of course, I miss Gilbert and he can't be here, but you and I don't know each other. So this is a really interesting opportunity to really introduce ourselves and learn more about you. So thank you for taking the time to join our show. And where are you taking the call from today?
I'm sitting in my office in Calgary at our STEM Innovation Academy's junior high and high school.
Amazing. Okay, so you have a junior high and high school. Is that in the same building together?
So we have two sites. So at this site we have about 1,200 students, about 900 high school students, and then we have a second junior high site that's in South Calgary.
Okay, unreal. Like I can't even wait to just get into this like journey of how you got here. But let's start at the beginning. Where were you born? What was life like growing up? Tell us about your earliest childhood memories.
So I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, and lived there for most of my life, with the exception of kind of kindergarten and grade one. We were in Ontario. And so those were actually probably my first memories were of being in a portable in Toronto somewhere and taking a bus to school, which I recall I didn't like very much. But I basically we came back to Edmonton in grade 4, and I stayed there till grade 12. I went to Carleton University for my first year. I really wanted to go away, and I had $10,000, and my dad told me he wasn't going to fund me going away. So I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And then I decided to come back, finish my business degree at the University of Alberta, and then when I got married at 25, moved to Calgary. And I've been here for almost 30 years, with the exception of 2 years when we moved back to Toronto, where my daughter was born.
Okay, amazing. There's lots to unpack there for sure.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a couple steps back. You were born in Edmonton. Why did you move to Ontario in the first place?
Well, in grade 12, I just had a desire to get out of my parents' house. We were my family has different religious beliefs than there's a couple of different ones. I just wanted to be on my own. I didn't want to create any problems for anybody, so I decided to go away. And we were a very close family, still are growing up. There's 3 sisters in the family, and my parents. My dad is an engineer. He retired 3 years ago at 82, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So we had a great life. We had a really great life growing up. Edmonton was a great city to grow up as a child, and I was just looking for a little bit of adventure.
Yeah, I love it. So, so you did that in grade 12 versus like finishing up and going to university. You said you went to Carleton for the first year. Were you dead set on Carleton as the one school that you wanted to get into?
No, it was kind of funny. Like I would say I always know I was interested in business. I was definitely ambitious, but perhaps lacked real ambition. I remember a family friend of ours they were multimillionaires said to me, if you want to go to Harvard, Lisa, and you need some help, let me know. And I was like, oh, okay, but why would I want to go to Harvard? And so honestly, just applied at a bunch of different universities, and I think they were the one to accept me first. And of course, that was back in the day when they came in the mail.
Yep.
Your university acceptance came in the mail, and I didn't want to go to Toronto like U of T. I just felt it was too big, and so I hopped on a plane and went to Ottawa. I couldn't get into residence, so I had to look for a place. I rented a room in the Glebe with a French Canadian family. Spent a year at Carleton, didn't love Ottawa, and
Mm.
came back and finished my degree at the U of A.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that year abroad. So, like, why didn't you like it? What was going on there?
So Carleton, it was kind of interesting. I didn't realize how insular actually Carleton University was at the time. So it was mostly local folks. And I had this
Mm.
view that because it was Ottawa, people would know, people would be worldly, right?
Mm.
I mean, it's the seat of government. And I remember sitting in a class with a group of guy friends, and they're asking me, so does everybody in Alberta drive a skidoo? And I said, yeah. I said, of course. Like when we turn 18, you get an ice fishing hut, and you're given a skidoo. And he goes, really? And I'm like, no, of course not. Like that's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't, I guess, like as worldly as perhaps I was expecting. Um, and honestly, like I thought Edmonton was cold, but Ottawa's worse. And
Mm.
the winters there are horrific. And so I just decided I didn't need 3 more years of that. So I came home.
Yeah, fair enough. So against I guess your parents' wishes, you went away, it sounds like. And went on your own for a year, figured it wasn't your thing. How was it like coming back home?
It was really good. I think, there was a recognition that I was an adult and I was making my own decisions
Hmm.
and that, I was a good kid and I had a close relationship with both of my parents, despite I think what some normal teenage angst. And I came home and they just accepted that I was an adult and I accepted that I was living in their home and, was certainly willing to respect what I thought were their boundaries. And,
Hmm.
and it was great. And I stayed there actually. I think I moved out when I was 23. So it worked pretty well.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. That's awesome. So like you earned your stripes, come back home, you've got some boundaries set, and you finish off at U of A. Did you always know, like you said, you want to get into business, but what do you think prompted that? Because your dad's an engineer, your mom, you said, was a stay-at-home mom. Where does that business acumen or yearning for business come from?
Well, in university, I was either choosing between business or engineering. And I think I had the marks for both, but I think like a lot of women, especially at the time, was a little
Mhm.
intimidated by the look left, look right. One of you's not going to be here.
Mm.
And I always worked. I remember in grade 7, Ralph Lauren was becoming popular as a brand. And I remember saying to my dad, Dad, I need a Ralph Lauren shirt. And he said, what you need is a job. So so I did. I went out and I got a job working for the local drugstore, stocking shelves and delivering their prescriptions to the old age home across the street. And I never bought the shirt because it took too many hours, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I just started working actually for a local entrepreneur, managing the gift shop at the zoo, and then he was the master franchisor for Yoga and Fruz, and I started working there. And so just really always had this interest in business. And
Mm.
it's pretty ironic. I think it was around this time, or maybe it was early university, when Donald Trump's Art of the Deal book came out. And I remember
Mm.
reading the book. I was interested in real estate and thinking, well, he, I don't know. Donald Trump doesn't seem to have anything special. I can do real estate too. So I don't, people would not want to hear today that, perhaps I was a little inspired by Donald Trump, but I would say 30 years ago was a little bit different.
Mm. That's funny. You know what? I have that same book in my library at home as well too. So I'm not judging. His days of like The Apprentice and the Art of the Deal and stuff like that. Like it was different. But so interestingly enough, okay, so you were inspired, quote unquote, by other entrepreneurs that you saw, you know,
Yeah.
and you wanted to get into business. But did you want to get into real estate? Is that what inspired you? Because you have some kind of a background in real estate as well too, right?
Yeah, so so when I left university, I worked for GE Capital for less than a year as part of their management development training program. And I think the second rotation through the department is in marketing. And at the time they had the Woodward's credit card. It was the credit card division. And I'm sitting
Mm.
in this marketing meeting and we're talking about how do we get people to keep more balances on their card and pay 28.8% interest?
Wow.
And I
Okay.
thought, I cannot do this for the rest of
Mm.
my life. This is absurd. And so I had actually interviewed but turned down with Avison Young. And so back in the time it was Graham Young and Associates. And so I kept applying and I kept interviewing with different partners. And I didn't realize at the time, but I ended up being the first woman they'd ever hired.
Mm.
And so I started my career at Avison Young, spent the next 5 years there, achieved the last year I was there, I made more money than half the partnership. And
Wow.
but was kind of looking at the future and thinking, I'm not sure I want to keep leasing and selling similar kinds of properties or doing the same work over time. So I left the firm when I was about 25 and we moved to Calgary.
Okay. Nice. So you're doing pretty well at an organization. You had the foresight to say, I don't want to keep on doing this. What was the thinking behind that? Was it just repetitive? Were you not inspired? Like, what got you to that point? You wanted to change?
I think I was interested in some sort of ownership. I mean, in my mind was I was going to be this, if I was going to be a real estate mogul, I would own apartments and rent them out to women fleeing domestic violence. And I
Mm.
had all these visions and probably just wasn't as interested in the managing of real estate as I thought perhaps I was. And so at the time, a friend's husband was asked me to open a consulting office in Calgary, and they were international business consulting. They had offices in Mexico and Southeast Asia, and so I came in on a marketing role. And part of the appeal for me was that they did big projects, and so if you brought a project idea or brought in a client with a big project, there was the potential for equity.
Mm.
And again, just the expectations weren't really met just in terms of timing of opportunities and that. And at the end of 2 years, I
Mm.
worked for AVAC, which was a new venture capital group focused on agribusiness and funded with some startup capital from the government of Alberta. So I think someone uh, called it a portfolio resume, which I think is a really nice way of saying, and I did a bunch of things that happened to interest me. So
Yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. That's like when you talk about what you said earlier, what the management training when he did the rotations at different places. It's kind of like he did the rotations, but with different companies then as well too. And I actually think that's pretty cool. I think many people get stuck in one thing. I think that's it. And without realizing you get stuck and maybe things get, very hamster wheel-ish. And, when you have an opportunity and I guess the confidence to say like I'm gonna try something else and why not, right? Go somewhere else like that. You learn a lot about yourself, I'm sure, but also you can kind of brick by brick build some of this confidence and yeah, learn more about different facets of what you're working on. But how was that leaving? Like I'm sure because a lot of times when you're leaving, you're starting from scratch potentially or whatever else, but that's got to be an experience in itself.
yeah, it is, and I think I left to start a kind of a shelving. What started off with it was actually a decorative shelving business. I wanted to be the Umbra of kind of designy furniture, a little different than IKEA. And so we had some success selling into Rona and
Hmm.
some other clients, but ultimately it just wasn't the financial success I hoped for. And at the time, and my husband was also working in commercial real estate. So most of our lives, we've not had a salary. We've actually either owned companies or have been on some sort of commission.
Hmm.
And I think it was not a particularly good financial time in our lives. We had bought a house and income was a bit up and down. So I took a job with Quiznos doing their real estate. And within 3 months, they asked me to move to Toronto and take over as vice president of real estate.
Wow.
So I did that, and we were opening more stores than Tim Hortons at the time with half the people. We were mapping Quebec. It was pretty exciting. I've been to almost every town in Canada, over 10,000 people. So,
Mm.
um, but it was a hell of a workload. And when I got to Toronto, I got pregnant very quickly, and so gave birth to my daughter. And my husband at the time decided he would stay at home, and I went back to work after 2 months. And that was a pretty stressful. It was actually a pretty stressful time. And so my daughter's about 18 months old, and I came home one day and I said, I'm done. I want to
Hmm.
go back to Alberta. Like, the quality of life here is not what I'm looking for. And so we sold the house and moved back to Calgary.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, good for you. Yeah, I was telling you earlier what the show's premise being, like the two dots are life and death, and kind of what you do in between. Everything is around intention, and it sounds like everything you've done, yes, there's circumstances and stuff like that, but intentionally you're making these decisions. Like, walk me through how you make some of these decisions when you're either going to join a new company or leave a new company. Like, what's going through your mind when you're doing some of these things?
Well, I think so. For me, it's largely been about what I've been interested in, and figuring that the money will come. Like, when you're young, you've got realities, and figuring out that doing things that I'm interested in, and knowing that you can't always see the path,
Hmm.
but having a goal. And so I had financial goals. And back in the day, I used to my husband would laugh at me because I'd have my HP2 calculator, and the Canadian mortgage calculator and the future value. And I would be like, if I saved $100 more a month, when could I retire? If I did
Hmm.
this and I did that. And then one day I just decided, I'm not doing this anymore. We're gonna own something, and off we go. So in my mind was always this ownership piece.
Hmm.
And I was probably not as brave in my 20s as I should have been. Like, we when we moved to Calgary, we just should have started doing real estate development. It would have
Hmm.
been, it was a lot more lucrative than the other things that I did. And at the time, there was room for independent developers in a way that there's not today.
Hmm.
So when we moved back to Calgary, I want to spend time with my daughter. She was 2, so my husband and I started a real estate investment firm, and he was the primary driver of that. And we ended up we invested we held about $80 million worth of real estate using
Well.
third-party investor money. And I had my son, and they're 3 years apart. And then I was time to put her in for preschool. And people were lining up at 3 in the morning to get a spot. And I remember thinking, well, what the hell? Like, this is crazy.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, well, why don't we open a childcare facility? Why don't we open a preschool? And so we opened this preschool and recreational facility. So we would, it'd be preschool till 3 o'clock. And from 3:30 on, it would be dance or karate or whatever. It was a
Hmm.
unique model. And we doubled in size the second year we opened. And in about year 3 or 4, I really had to decide, did I still want to be this hands-on, the weight of responsibility of looking after people's kids is quite heavy. And I had to decide,
Hmm.
did I still want to do this or not? And so I approached Edlin, which was a TSX listed company who was buying up childcare facilities, and negotiated a deal with them to purchase. So around 2014, I exited the business, and it was around that time where my daughter was in school, and I was wondering why I was being asked to buy Kleenex boxes, um, because school couldn't afford them, and a whole bunch of other things. And so that's what really began my interest in education, was when my children hit school age.
Yeah, wow. And like, what an amazing journey just to say one day, why don't we start our own school? Like, obviously there's a need. Like, you hear about it now. There's some subsidies for new parents, and there are insane wait lists for any kind of daycare facility or Montessori or whatever. and you
Yeah.
really have to know somebody, whoever, to even make that happen. And I have friends that have kids that have been waiting forever, and like their kids are just being born, and they're putting them on wait list for like 3 years down the road. So that's a very good business. So good for you for even seeing that opportunity. So, was it a mix of like a great opportunity, but also let's just build this? Like, did you have something as you that you also wanted to provide a different experience for your children as well too, or was it really just like financially motivated as a good business opportunity?
Well, it was this belief, like when we look at the programs, like we were a combination Montessori and Reggio, and I felt Montessori on its own was could be quite rigid.
Mm,
So we also like this, I also like this play-based piece as well.
mm,
And then same thing with like a lot of the dance programs where everything now is super competitive. So if you're in dance 5 days a week. If you're in, a sport, you're in like that's the only sport you can do. That was
right.
the model we had. So we had dance and we were competitive, but we weren't super competitive.
Mm,
My view is that kids should try a lot of different things,
yeah.
and one day they'll decide what they really love. So it was really about just kind of a curiosity about creating a business model that addressed all the needs of parents and busy parents because as you know when you're a working parent and you pick your child up from school and then you take this one to dance, you take that one to karate, and then Saturdays are basketball, like it's quite a lot. So we really wanted this kind of one stop shop, as it were. And we tried to schedule our classes, so that we had different age groups running at different times, so that a parent with kids 2 years apart could drop them off, for the same hour.
Hmm.
And we were the first full day preschool to open in our area, which served 100,000 people. So I was really first mover.
Well,
And so it's a lot more competitive now, but then just decided because we also had a full day program. And so when you've got kids in your facility from like 7 in the morning till 5, it just, for me, felt like a real weight of responsibility.
mhm.
And I wasn't really prepared to kind of continue, honestly, just continue that on. So we sold to the publicly traded company, and it just really gave us a lot of breathing room to figure
Yeah,
out, well, what did I want to do next?
yeah. Good for you. I mean, amazing that you like manifested your own exit. Like you went to the buyer.
Yeah.
How was that process? Because like you reached out to him on a cold call. Like how does that
Yeah.
work?
No, I literally called them. I said, I see you're acquiring. Here's what we do. And they were quite interested in what we were doing because they wanted to take our model and expand it across their 50 locations.
Hmm.
And so, like any business, it's often easier to purchase and then duplicate the system.
Right.
So, but I've never negotiated the sale of an operating company before. We obviously negotiated a lot of real estate deals. So
Hmm.
certainly my negotiating skills came in very handy for that transaction. And then with legal help, obviously, we were able to close the deal. And so it was good because it gave us the opportunity to have some financial breathing room and figure out, what did I really want to do for the
Hmm.
next, for the next 10 years.
Right, right. So you're freshly exited. You still have your real estate holding company as well too, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah,
So that's kind of happening. Your husband is running that primarily, you said?
yeah.
Okay, so you've got some breathing room. You've got two kids now. They're growing a little bit older. What is your mind state like, and like what happens next?
So this is around the time like Discovery Math was getting driven into school. So my son's coming home and he's being asked to do 5 times 3, 5 different ways. And I'm thinking this is really crazy.
Hmm.
I start to connect with some folks in the space who were really helpful in helping me understand kind of pedagogy and best practice and research in that. And so, like any naive parent, I just thought, well, if I went to talk to the school, we'll just be like, hey, have you considered this? And we have this issue, and off we go.
Hmm.
Um, Schools, and this is where I really started to understand kind of how schools work. And we were also interested in bringing more STEM education into the school. We were like, as parents, we were like, hey, we'll give you $10,000, like bring in a STEM program into our,
Hmm.
for our kids in grade 4.
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of interest. And so, and then we started looking at provincial numbers and we started to see things like, it's still true today. It's actually more today. 38% of kids are failing grade 9 math.
Wow.
So in a future, for Alberta's future, right, we have this whole group of kids whose future options are going to be severely limited. And we know that in grade 6, and we are confirmed that in grade 9, and nothing was being done. So we actually started this advocacy group called Kids Come First, and we released a number of reports around things like math instruction, and we showed how 100% of schools in Northeast Calgary were below the provincial average in math, right? And what are the societal implications of that?
Hmm.
At the time, our current premier was doing her radio show. I was on her show, a dozen times. And then just decided that trying to influence CBE wasn't working, and I was going to run for trustee with a slate of people who were reform minded. And so we did that, and I was elected in 2017, and we were one short of a majority.
Mm.
And so it was really interesting. And I look at, so I follow what's happening in Toronto, the Toronto District School Board pretty closely. And like the large school boards are highly dysfunctional. And I ended up resigning in 2020 when the board tried to obstruct my cooperation with the minister's legally mandated audit. And honestly, at that point, I thought I was done with education.
Mm.
And then the pandemic hit. And I knew
Hmm.
we were witnessing a major transformation in the economy, and I knew the education system wasn't ready, wasn't prepared. And we applied for a charter school, and were approved in January 2021. And this is our 5th year. We just had our first staff meeting of the year. We have 126 staff. We have 1,700 students in 2 cities, and we've turned away probably 7,000 students since we started.
Wow. Those are some amazing stats. Like, congratulations on going for it and making that change, right? And that's what's wild when you think about education and some of those stats as well too, about our young leaders, almost 40% of them failing grade 9 math. Like, that is brutal stats. And that is a long road ahead for a lot of people when you need to understand numbers when especially when small businesses are like the backbone of Alberta and stuff like that as well too. If you're not understanding numbers and math and stuff like that, like that's a tough road. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's wild. That's staggering.
Well, and former Premier Notley commissioned, like I was part of a group of parents, and we made a lot of noise about the underachievement in math, and she commissioned a report on math, and it demonstrated that 80% of all post-secondary programs, including the trades, had a math prerequisite.
Hmm.
So unfortunately, not much has happened, and we have this situation where the provincial government says, well, that's a delegated authority to the school boards, and the school boards say, yeah, but we don't have enough money, to do
Hmm.
what we need to do. And we came along, and within 3 years, our program is the #1 math program in the province, #1 science program, the #1 social studies program in the city, and the #2 English language arts program in the city. So
Well,
we really showed and our kids come to us by lottery. It's a straight lottery. So it's really just luck if you get in. We don't select kids in.
mm-hmm.
And so we really showed there's a better way.
Yeah,
And,
well,
um, you know,
that's
should be a
incredible.
model to be replicated, actually.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like I think about my time in school, and there are some great teachers that really were super engaged and made my experience that much better. And then I talked to some teachers today that are just like burnt out. They're in a system like you just mentioned, like there isn't enough money for some new programming or whatever. And I think people coming into education have a mindset of wanting to change, or be as impactful to a child's life and education. But when they're handcuffed and it's bureaucratic and stuff like that, like, do you find a lot of these educators just burning out and kind of losing interest and almost getting like, I don't know, what do you want me to do? That system's rigged, so I can't do anything.
100%. And we have teachers coming to us saying if you weren't gonna hire me, I was gonna quit.
Wow.
And the teaching today is it's a challenging job, and there's a few reasons for that. And one is that the teacher training programs are not particularly effective. Something
Mm,
almost 40% of teachers in an annual survey tell you that the teacher training program did not prepare them, right?
mm,
And so you throw these teachers into a class and you say, well, three of your kids don't speak English, two of them have ADHD, two of them are gifted, and three of them have severe behavior problems. And, good luck. We hope it all works out.
yeah.
And we don't provide them with the support. I mean, the other systems don't provide them with support. They don't have the knowledge or the training. We have, in many cases, a very progressive behavior management policies where one kid is allowed to disrupt the learning of 28 kids. And so
Mm,
the teachers aren't backed by the principals, and the principals aren't backed by the area directors. So if you're a teacher, you just close your door and do the best that you can. And it can be pretty soul sucking.
mm,
And so for us, like we have this whole model of instruction that we have developed. There is a way we teach here. We are the only high school in the Calgary area with a daily prep period for our teachers. They can do common planning. We do common assessments. We really figure out, I like to say that teaching has to be a job that mere mortals can do.
mm,
So we really need systems and we need
mm,
resources and they need support. And so we've had almost no turnover and since the day we started for that reason. And then we
yeah.
also have all these unique STEM options courses that we offer, many of them unique in Canada. We're the only school to have an MOU with MIT University in Boston and
Wow.
to offer their high school courses to our students, and we're one of three schools in the world to do that. So we have been very ambitious, and it's been very helpful for me because I don't know what the constraints are in education. I don't care, like
Yeah.
you're right, and I haven't been socialized for 20 years in a system. Monopoly systems are not innovative, and competition is a dirty word in education, but it should be a competition of ideas, and the best
Sure.
idea should win.
Yeah, I agree. I think competition brings out the best in people, and the best, rises to the top, and those ideas come to light, and you either adapt or, perish, really. And that's the way it should be, right? Like there's so many antiquated systems that you're like, how are we even still stuck in these things? And what good does it do for the greater good as well too? So I love the fact that you're like creating your own category and saying, you know what, I'm not finding it here. I'm gonna go build it. And the stats are showing. Like not only do you have the best retention, but you have I'm assuming like great students and happy students and engaged students. And I'm curious though too, like do you still incorporate some of those play aspects from the other schools into this as well too, or is it like strictly STEM?
Yeah, so we do. So we're grade 7 to 12, and our philosophy is that kids should be able to try a variety of different topics
Mm,
before they graduate grade 12. And the idea being that, we want to help you make a decision about what you're interested in. So we have our typical academic subjects. We all follow the Alberta Program of Studies as we're required to, and then in the options courses is where we have a little more playtime. And so
mm,
you have students they can take a 5 credit robotics course all through 10, 11, and 12, or they can do, a 3 credit course that gives them a taste of something. And if
mm,
they don't like it, well, no harm, no foul, move on to the next option.
right.
And so the goal is to really just give them kind of maximum exposure. We also have a ton of clubs. And so we've got everything from music club to poetry club. We had a student win
Mm,
a poetry contest. So we do a lot of, I would say, non-traditional STEM things because, kids are more than just the academics and
mm.
school should be a fun and engaging place. So I think last year at the high school, we had over 35 clubs and they're all student driven.
Well, very cool. I mean, I love this. I think this is amazing. And congrats on everything that you've built and seen and brought to life. Because like, wow, like our youth needs it. I think more and more, obviously more and more cities need it. Like the world needs this kind of education. Things are moving so fast, and things are so antiquated that this kind of thinking is exactly what you need to disrupt and to bring children into not only today's world, but the future of where we're going as well too. And so I love the fact that you're exposing, a variety of topics and ideas, and really, you know, this is what I think about as well too. Like I know growing up, you're kind of stuck to what your parents want you to do, and this is what you're doing, and you have all these ideas in your mind. Like maybe you want to be a teacher, you want to be an artist, you want to be whatever, but you're stuck in this one path, and then you get thrown into university, and you don't know what the hell to do, so you end up in general studies, and you end up graduating with like I don't know something super super vague that doesn't really do a ton for um really anybody. So you end up in real estate, or, selling houses or something. You know what I mean? Because like you've missed out on this opportunity to just find your passion and fuel that.
Yeah.
So starting early is amazing, and your school sounds amazing. Like I wish I could go back in time and go to your school than the high school that I went to.
Well, it's pretty cool, and we take a lot of pride, and we have so most students come to us out of their own choice, but some students come to us because their parents sent us, like,
Of course.
and so of those students, we've had a few of them say, "Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be interested in what STEM had to offer," and then they're leading like the robotics team, and so
Yeah.
we are trying to inspire them and also give them the confidence. And because I'm really, I still remember what it was like to be in grade 12 going, oh, I don't know, like, can I make it as an
Mm-hmm.
engineer? Right. I certainly could have. I just didn't have the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So building that confidence and that background knowledge is really important. And we're really expanding our entrepreneurship courses and this year as well. And we want to teach kids what does it mean to be investable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we need a lot more entrepreneurs in this country. And and I think of my own journey, it was very safe. And then I probably should have taken the risk earlier, but just didn't have the mindset, and again just didn't have the confidence. So trying to move kids up a few steps from what we experienced.
I love it. You know what I mean? Like I think I'm a true believer that you can't build what you want to until you've actually gone through it. And the fact that, you have this thinking of you want to build for the next, wave of entrepreneurs or scientists or whoever by giving them the opportunities to build that confidence early so that they're not stuck with these like what if scenarios down the road is an incredible mission. And I think it's a huge why as well too. And tell me about some of the wins that you've had with like the children that have gone through like your programming. 'Cause like you said, some of the students who maybe got voluntold by their parents end up, running the robotics team. Like stuff like that has got to be super rewarding.
So we had a student who, so when we opened, she came to us in grade 9. So of course, in Alberta, grade 9 is typically the end of junior high. So moving in your last junior high year is pretty significant. And she wasn't sure she was going to stay with us in grade 10. Wasn't really sure she liked the computer programming and stuff. And this is a student who took, in her grade 12 year, took the Muse headband, the meditation headband that measures,
Hmm.
are you in the zone? She took that and reverse engineered it to have your mind control the computer cursor. And
Wow.
she won the $120,000 Schulich scholarship and is attending UBC engineering this year.
Wow.
So it's a really just great example of not sure. I'm interested in STEM, not sure I want to stay at STEM. I think I want to do AP or IB because we don't offer that. We offer a different honors program.
Hmm.
And ended up like giving her the tools and the access to the tools and the background knowledge, and look where she went. We had another group of students, really impressive group of students, who on a Monday decided they were going to enter the Samsung Design for Living Challenge. It's a national challenge where you have to improve something in everyday life.
Hmm.
And they decided they were going to redesign a wheelchair for people who had no use of their arms or their legs, could only use their eyes. And so this team created a wheelchair out of a robotics platform, did all the coding, used augmented reality and this headband technology so that an individual user could move the direction could move the wheelchair with their eyes. So they started that project on a Monday. They had it working by Wednesday, and by Thursday they submitted their video with 30 seconds to spare. And they were the only school from we were the only school from Alberta to make the top 12 finals, and they ended up finishing second in Canada. So
Unreal. Yeah.
and it's the perfect example of, when we talk about companies talk about we need teamwork, we need different teams to come together. I mean, this was a cross high school team. We had kids from 10, 11, and 12, different skill sets, came together and and made it work. So I am always in awe of the creativity and the talent of students given the opportunity. And unlike when I grew up, certainly, I mean, I remember taking word processing in university, like computers were that new. I'm myself here, but these kids have access to, like, we're not the experts on augmented reality, right? We connect with experts, but these kids can go online now, right? And they can figure stuff out. What they need is a space and encouragement and some mentorship, and they can go very far.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like I've been a part of a few hackathons, and seeing what kids can put together in a span of like a day and a half, I can't even imagine being in a program that this is what you do on a day in, day out basis with people and creating friendships and like just creating new innovation, but just coming together to make some great things happen. But even being in an environment that fuels that with the right mentorship and the right tools, like that's how you push the economy and our country forward, by putting our next wave of leaders and all that in those situations to actually do things like that, versus doing the exact same things that we've been doing forever, which is like BS math and just like these stupid things that I'm like, why do we even learn these things anymore? Like teach entrepreneurship, learn about taxes, learn about like personal hygiene, for God's sake, like do these things that actually matter, you know?
Well, and it's like in Alberta, it's crazy because our computer science curriculum is 15 years old. And so there is
Wow.
one approved course on AI, and it's really mediocre. And so, and it's a bit frustrating because we have this real ambition and we see what our kids can do. And we at the high school level, when you create a new course, government has to approve it because you're granting credits, right? So it's a quality control thing, totally cool. And so the University of Calgary asked us to help them create an introduction to quantum computing course, because they know, the computing science folks know, they got to attract more top talent into the field. How is a student in high school going to decide this is what they're going to take if they don't even know what QC is?
Right.
We created a course. We submitted it to government, and government's first response was, well, we're not sure this is age appropriate. And we had just gotten off a call with the ICT, which is the Computer Technologies Association of Canada. This course was based off the University of Waterloo's high school resources for teachers. This ICT group teaches quantum computing concepts to students as young as grade 6. And we're kind of sitting there going, oh my God, like, what do you mean not age appropriate? Like, and I said, oh, let's say you're right. I said, let's say you're right. Let's say there are 30 kids in the province that can take this course. Why would you care? Why would you care if only 30 kids? Like we should have some ambition, because these kids have ambition. And so we have this $9 billion system, which is the second largest budget item of every provincial government, is K-12 education. And what if we just reoriented a little bit of it into these areas? Like, so powerful.
This episode is brought to you by Bloom Benefits Group. Bloom Benefits is disrupting employee benefits by rethinking the status quo. They provide exceptional customer service while saving you money. Bloom offers group benefits and retirement products, health and wellness accounts, executive benefits, life insurance, and disability and critical illness. Available to companies across Canada, Bloom helps clients save money without interrupting current plans. Check them out at bluebenefits.ca.
Young professionals, families, and entrepreneurs. What makes Zelos Investment Counsel different? Our independence, client focus, and access. Zelos Investment Counsel is independent from banks and brokerages, which ensures clients' best interests are served without corporate conflicts. We are fiduciary portfolio managers with a duty to clients that doesn't exist in the brokerage model. At Zelos Investment Counsel, we exist to care for our clients, and every day we strive to help our clients reach their goals. We provide our clients with access to institutional investment managers and sector specialists through our proprietary investment structure. For more information, book your no obligation meeting today at zelosglobal.com. That's www.zelosglobal.com.
Attention all car owners. Is the winter weather turning your beloved ride into a rusty relic? Fear not, because we've got the solution you've been dreaming of. Crown Rust Protection. Picture this, your car defying the elements, standing strong against rust like a knight in shining armor. Crown Rust Protection is not just a shield, it's an investment in the longevity and resale value of your vehicle. Don't let rust take the wheel. Book your Crown Rust Protection treatment today and let your car embrace its inner superhero. Call now at 403-291-1951 or book your appointment at www.krown.com. Our skilled technicians are ready to give your car the VIP treatment it deserves. Crown Rust Protection, because your car deserves to age like fine wine, not rusty vinegar.
Today's episode is brought to you by Motive, a leading venture builder with over a decade of experience helping corporates and startups build, launch, and scale successful business ventures. Whether you're looking to innovate your business model, develop a game-changing product, or craft a winning go-to-market strategy, Motive is with you every step of the way. Their proven venture building process and technologies help reduce risks and accelerate time to market. Innovation is everywhere. Let's harness it together. Visit motive.digital to learn more. That's Motive spelled M-O-T-I-V.
Yeah, I can't even wait to see what happens with your school and how it's going to explode. Like, you've done so well already in 5 years. What is your big, hairy, audacious goal with what you're building?
So, I mean, we would love to, we could double in size every year if we had the real estate. So we are a bit frustrated with the pace of support
Mhm.
the provincial government on real estate. So ironically, the thing I started my career in is probably my most important skill is doing real estate deals because we've done non-traditional deals. We really paved the way for this is the building I'm in is was formerly Smart Technologies head office. And so
Okay.
we converted into a school. So that is one. The other thing we are going to need to address is teacher training. And so we are probably going to start offering some courses so that we train teachers in the skills that we need, because it's definitely a huge need, not just for us, but for other boards as well. And our goal is not to be the largest school board. I mean, obviously that's not going to be possible, but to have the most impact. And so we would love to do deals with other school boards to take our programming and our systems to help them out. We've actually had the Manitoba government reached out, the Minister of Innovation, to talk to us about what we're doing, and we could replicate our model across Canada for any government that was willing. So
Mhm.
I think for us, we're probably going to start some online courses because particularly school boards in smaller communities that don't have access to tech companies in the same way that we do here in Calgary.
Mhm.
So we really want to kind of expand our reach as far as we can, as fast as we can, because we are in a serious race for talent in the world. And
Mhm.
we've got China and the US positioning for dominance on AI. Canada has been great at doing research and then licensing, all the IP is owned by foreign companies. So,
Mhm.
this year we're doing a big push to infuse our curriculum with some policy work. And Jim Basilier was doing a fireside chat with Danielle Smith.
Mhm.
And there's a group here called Amy, which is one of the AI centers of excellence. So really, really great organization. But he said, 100% of the patents generated out of Amy are foreign held.
Yeah, well.
And so these are the kinds of things you're like, oh my God, like, so these are some of the concepts we want to introduce to our students so that as they carry on with their lives, in the back of their mind is how do we create opportunities for ourselves, but also, wealth an opportunity for our province and our country in a way
Mhm.
that positions ourselves, us moving forward.
Yeah.
We are definitely lacking in an innovation economy in Canada. Our GDP per capita has been flat for a decade. These are things we need to change for our youth. So these are
Mhm.
some of the things we have been thinking about.
I love it. No, you're thinking huge, which is amazing, and like you're building those roots for people to take ownership of their ideas and build on that as well too. Because I agree. Like if you have a lot of a talent and they're just it's not only brain drain, but it's like IP drain as well too, which is rough, right? And so as an organization for yourself, are you considered like a private business? Like can you franchise your model? Like how do you guys make money besides, you know, the students paying like a yearly, whatever.
So we're actually we are a fully public school, and so we're funded the same as the local public board, the local Catholic board, and so by law we cannot charge tuition. So our school fees are $300 a year,
Wow.
and we are a not-for-profit organization. So one day, my joke is one day when I retire, somebody will give me a very nice plaque, and that's what I get. So this truly is for all of us just our public service. And so there is nothing preventing us from working with any other school board or government in the country to replicate what we're doing. So it truly is a public model,
Hmm.
in service with public good, and there are no assets in a society beyond the people who happen to be working here.
Wow. Amazing. Very, very noble and very truly inspiring as well too. Like Lisa, I think what you're doing and your team there is incredible. Um, Kudos, right? Like that's you saw a huge need. You're making waves. You've got some of these success stories of people going for amazing awards and making it happen with the right support and things. Like it shows a really, really interesting and workable model that people need to adapt. And you're in a system that's bureaucratic and kind of get asking you, instead of going, why not? They're asking you the whys probably. And at every turn, I'm assuming there's a lot of roadblocks that you have to get through. So my question for you then is how do you keep it all together? Like what is your, wellness regimen look like beyond just work so you can come in and be your best self and strive for all these big audacious goals when really it's an antiquated system?
Yes. Well, so I would say, when we started, we were the first charter school to open in 15 years, and a lot of the policies were very unfriendly. And so we had great support from Premier Jason Kenney and our MLA Tyler Shandro, and so they really helped us equal out the funding. But we were, and I guess because I'd done a number of startups and major expansions, like I just knew what the grind was going to be, and so we ground it out in the beginning. And so we now are like in the last 2 years, and so I've never run an organization with 126 people, and we have a sister school in Edmonton as well,
Mm-hmm.
with another 500 students. And so you really start to look at like what does it mean to normalize workloads, right? What does it actually take to do the things we want to do? And so today, for example, we have a director of STEM education who doesn't teach. And when he started, he came in August 15th because we opened 3 schools in 3 years on 90 days notice. It was it was unheard of what we did, but we did every real estate deal we could do. And but when he started, he came in August 15th, and we said, well, Denzel, you got 1 week to create a dozen options courses, and while he was teaching full time. So you can do that for a bit. That's not sustainable. So we now have director of STEM who doesn't teach. We have a director of marketing and outreach because it's working with industry. A big part of what we do is working with industry and post-secondary, because we are not the tech experts, right? We obviously need those folks to help us out, and that's a full-time job. And so so for us, so like any kind of entrepreneur, you prioritize yourself last. And so last year I started, and this year we kind of finished this what does it mean to normalize my workload? And
Mhm.
and what should I be doing that kind of makes me happy? There's a lot of stuff that doesn't makes me unhappy, and so I've pretty well gotten rid of it and focused on the things that I like to do and that I'm uniquely good at. And so I think this is every founder's challenge: is at what point do you let up, and give up portions of your job description? And so the more I give up, the happier I am. And we have really great people. Like I just cannot say enough about the team that we have assembled, and they have been
Mhm.
truly some of the most exceptional educators I've ever had the pleasure to work with. And because I'm not a teacher, like honestly, 30 kids in a classroom looks like a nightmare of a birthday party to me. Like send me somewhere else. So I'm really in awe of what they do, and because they're the ones that have made this program work.
Mhm.
I could not have envisioned um, we'd be doing the things we'd be doing. I mean,
Mhm.
we had at MIT, a prof at MIT offered to have us pilot their first year autonomous underwater vehicle course. And like, I could have never imagined I'd be sitting there in that meeting, discussing that 4 years ago. So it's
Yeah, it's
cool.
pretty cool. That's pretty amazing. Like when you have the ideas, I think the universe will conspire to bring those people together,
Yeah.
but you have to sprout that somewhere, right? So it's pretty amazing having an idea, having a team, scrounge together some funding, and like your background with not only real estate development, but it's like making these deals and being the rainmaker, or reading that book, The Art of the Deal. What did it do for your future? So awesome, right? Like, and I love the fact that you were kind of reimagining like boundaries, but also just like what does your workload look like, and things that fill your cup as well too, which I think is super important, because the work that you're doing is super important, right? So you can't have the people that are fueling it burn out. Otherwise, the whole ship kind of goes astray. So it's really important to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and and I mean, my daughter's in her third year engineering at UBC, and so when she's home in the summer, I prioritize spending time with her. And my son is just graduated our high school. He's taking a gap year, and looking to go into engineering, next year as well. And so I know as a parent, I've got this is the end of the time I'll be spending with them, and in a couple
Hmm.
of years they'll be out on their own. And so you really my family, I mean, my hobbies are my family really. And so I'm very much aware of every day I have with them is a gift. And,
Yeah,
you know,
good for you. Yeah, that's the mentality I think you have to have. Not take things for granted, and make it count.
yeah.
Um, Lisa, this has been an amazing conversation. It's been a pleasure to get to know you, and learn about your journey and the work that you're doing and some of your goals and things like that as well too. So I really want to just say thank you for coming on to our podcast, and meeting with me, and just sharing openly about your journey and the stuff that you're working on. Um, if you had an ask for the listeners, what would you ask?
So my ask for the listeners is talk to your powers that be about retaining us to bring our program to whatever community you're in, because we would love to expand the reach of what we're doing for as many students as we can in Canada. We think it's so important, and that I think would really fill the cup of a lot of the folks who've been involved in this journey as well.
Okay, amazing. Let's make that happen. And how do people get in touch with you if they want to do that?
So you can reach us through steminnovationacademy.com, and my email is l.davis@stemia.ca. And yeah, reach out and ask for me, and off we go. We'd love to connect.
Okay, amazing. Lisa, thank you so much. I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to just like see where things go, because you're already crushing it. And if there's anything we can do, please let us know to help fuel this, because I think it's super important. When do people apply to be part of this lottery? Like, how old do you have to be certain ages to come into whatever grade?
So we accept applications the year before. So this September, We will accept applications for students who want to come next September. So we don't keep, it's not years long. You don't have to know when your kid is 3 months old that this is where you're coming. I've been through that as a parent myself. So 1 year before, if you think your child would be interested, you are welcome to apply. And we're working very hard to get more real estate to offer our program to more students.
Okay, amazing. I wish you all the best, and I love what you're doing. So keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Lisa, take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Between Two Dots by Intention Media. This podcast is co-hosted by myself, Gilbert Bong, and Hafiz Mita. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review wherever you listen.